Hello everyone, we are back with the study now. I'm just going to flip what I got from studying that verse from Sadhak Sanjeevani, and I also hopped on to this one, which is Swami Ranganathananda that I've showed before. I also hopped on to this one and took a few things. I also referred to the video of Swami Sarvapriyananda. So, for pronunciation, I do listen to chants. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha nityasyoक्ता शरीरिणः अनासिनो अप्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत. So here Lord says these bodies acquired by the imperishable, indefinable and eternal soul are spoken of as perishable. Therefore Arjuna fight. So I took some things from Sadhak Sanjeevani, and what stood out there is that he points out that with the grammar, body has been mentioned only in plural because bodies have physical body, subtle body, like gross, subtle body, and causal bodies. So that's why bodies have been referred to in plural. However, the soul is mentioned in singular because there is one singular soul, one ultimate reality that pervades all of these bodies. And I also said CWG Volume 3 because this kind of concept does occur in Volume 3 of a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I always make connections to books that I read that are related to concepts in Bhagavad Gita. And also, ultimately, with all that deep knowledge that we get out of this verse, Tasmad Yudhyasva, the ultimate reality that we get with that point, what do? We do fight the battle of life. We do our responsibility. Do our duty. We are we are actually being led to look at the impermanence of the body and only do what is in dharma. With that knowledge, what do? We only go back to action, the karma yoga. So here Swami Ram Sukdas says that he also refers to 13.9, which speaks of non-attachment to external like material world, like family, wife, son, wealth and such. So if God was talking only to one part of life or one stage of life, he wouldn't be talking about non-attachment at all in that chapter. So this teaching is independent of the stage of life in which you are, which means that you might have completed all your responsibilities. You still need to stay in dharma and do what is supposed to be done in the stage that you exist. So what is karma for someone that's completed all their life responsibilities is to think of God and surrender and make that our daily life. So somebody that's in the heart of and midst of all responsibility and chaos like Arjuna is here, our responsibility is to do it with utmost respect and do what's in front of us in dharma, but dedicating it to the Lord, knowing that Lord alone is pervading everything and that the bodies that we are identified with are not the real self, like we are not our bodies. So here Swami Ram Sukdas in Sadhak Sanjeevani also points out how the verses progress, which I really enjoyed, which I took down. So the teaching itself starts with 11th verse in the second chapter, Gatasun Agatasun, which is what's gone and what's to be gone, what's to be grieved and not to be grieved. In 12 and 13 he starts to talk about the eternal, and in 14 and 15, in 16 he goes off to say, which is one of my very favorite verses, nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satah. That one is about Sat and Asat, the real and unreal, and 17 and 18 kind of concludes, or the topic sort of concludes, because there's a underlying like a chain in the question and answer. The way the Gita flows is just way too beautiful. So I won't say anything is concluded anywhere, but it says that the subtopic of Sat and Asat, real and unreal, is being concluded here by saying Anashino aprameyasya, that is the real, that which cannot be destroyed. Aprameyasya, cannot be known with pramana. Pramana is source of knowledge. You cannot know Parabrahma, the Lord, using books or pramana, the instruments of knowledge like senses, inference, testimonies, etc. So he is aprameya, which it means that he cannot be known just by the objects of knowledge, which is not an object to be known, it is to be realized. So pramanas do not operate on Brahman. I wrote that's from lecture that I listened to. So he also says that what follows this abstract philosophy, it looks like something so deep and abstract. And what does it conclude? What does it follow? And what does it give us? It gives us the conclusion that there is nothing else to do but to fight the battle of life. Whether we see it as battle or whether it's a scenic route, it depends upon us. That's my takeaway. With Lord and with devotion, it becomes a scenic route rather than a battle. So with all this, and I just took away the last takeaway is just my own takeaway. This is not any commentary or any lecture. I just said that by discerning between real and unreal, we see that Atman, Lord, is Nitya. That is, Nitya is eternal, all existing, ever existing, always there, within which the perishable bodies arise and perish. With this knowledge, what does one do? Live our life in Dharma. With this knowledge, what is being given to us here, not for us to go to a cave and meditate. Again, that's also done, but then being where we are, what is actually emphasized is for us to live in Dharma, do the right thing, using the body is a tool that we use, and not to be identified with it, and get out of that I and mindness, how much our I is the false ego. We develop this I and mind, identifying ourselves with the body. As much as possible, get out of that mode and realize that the soul alone is our real identity. Atman is the real identity, and Atman is where Lord is. So Atman is the one witness consciousness within us, which watches all this happen, and that is the Lord. So with that, I'm not teaching this is what I got from what I studied. Each person has to have their own study. This is just to share how I study the verse, not to teach this, because what I have got are from several sources, and how I conclude this verse and how it makes sense to me in my life is so unique that I cannot be teaching this. I'm no authority to teach this. One who wants to learn Gita this way can do it right now, with so many resources being there. That's why in the beginning of my videos I do mention where you can go for these lectures. I heavily depend upon Swami Sarvapriyananda's lectures in YouTube. He's up to chapter 8 now. This is an ongoing study that's going on for years. I try to keep up with him. One part of me is just doing the 8th verse, but I always come back to do deep dives from the older version. This is the series this is my main study, Gita, which I've showed before. This is volume 1, and I'm in volume 2 now. So you listen to the lecture, you take notes in the Gita itself, and then if you want to do a deep dive, what you can do something like this. Whatever method works for you is good. There are many resources. I show many versions of Gita one can choose, and there is so many resources in YouTube nowadays, and there are talks that happens in all the cities. One can get connected to it. This Chinmaya mission everywhere now. Chinmaya mission specializes in spreading the knowledge of Gita. It's an amazing organization too, which I highly recommend. They even concentrate on the chanting, and they beautifully chant Gita and teach the chanting to children if you want to get involved with Gita. Hope you like this study with me series, and I will come back with another video very soon. Namaste.